Hey everybody, Michael here on behalf of CalFest. Very excited to have you for our second sponsorship session with Vicki Higgins and special guest today, Patrick Myrna. I'm going to say hello in the chat. Since we only have chat for attendees, feel free to say hi and where you are saying hello from. And make sure it says panelists and attendees or everyone with your chat. Hey, Lucas. I see Ray and Ruth's on. Gary's on. Hey, Gary. Bruce, good to see you. All our friends are here. This is great.
Hi, Ruth.
So what we're doing now is just Zoom takes a few minutes to add everyone in over a staggered maybe 3 or 4 minute period. So we're just waiting for the bulk of attendees to join before we kick things off.
Hi, Donnie from Porterville. Bruce from Denver, good to see you. So excited to have Patrick here from the 500 Festival. This is going to be a fun conversation. I know this was called like a coffee chat. I have my tea, so hopefully that counts. We'll take a second to get everybody in from Zoom. Hi,
Move
Lucas.
down to water from the Midwest.
You're down to water. That's probably what I need to do. I've had way too much caffeine this morning.
Let us know if you caught the first session too. Let us know if this is your second sponsor series session. And we have one more, so go for the hat trick.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, how are you? Lucas, Redwood City, I love it there. Kayla from Saratoga, great to see you. Good morning. I am in Southern California in Palm Desert right now, and it's gorgeous, sunny, and supposed to be 80 degrees today. So I'm super happy that we're out of the 100-degree weather and into the 80s. Maria, welcome. This is your second session. Thank you.
There's just a few people being added in. I would say it's only 10:01. We'll give it maybe 1-2 more minutes, and then we should be able to get started.
Awesome. Donna, cheers to your tea. Well, if you missed the first one, we can maybe work out a way to get you a recording of it. I think we did record it. We'll have to chat with Ruth about that.
Yes, I can make sure we get that out to you. So all you'll have to do is email me at michaelb@eventhub.net. I dropped it in the chat.
Okay.
We will be happy to send you the recording link.
All right.
However, don't skip out because it won't be in HD. Zoom down converts recorded video to 630 by 360. So this is your 720p experience today.
So we look much better now. So definitely try to be live. Bruce, sorry you missed the first. We're looking forward to sharing some good stuff with you today, and also drop in any questions that you have in the chat as we go along. Michael will keep track of those, and we'll be able to do a Q&A at the end and answer any questions.
And also, if you missed registering for the third webinar, make sure to do so. It's going to be November 6th, next Friday. You'll also get an email tomorrow that'll have the registration link. Hey, Jay, great to see you.
Hi.
I think we're ready to go.
All right, sounds good. Oh, and I want to say hi to, it looks like Maria in San Jacinto. She is just over the mountain from me, so very exciting. So, well, I'm Vicki Higgins. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. Like I said, I'm having some tea. This is like my second cup, so I'm a little over-caffeinated today. So if I talk fast, definitely just type in the chat and tell me to slow down. But it's a pleasure. I have a company called CXP Agency. We are a sponsorship agency. We do that solely. So we work on sponsorships. We help fairs, festivals, and events with their sponsorships and engaging your sponsors. I know that was a question I received after the last uh, part one of the sponsorship series was how to engage your sponsors. So that's one of the things that we do. And we also, help re-strategize and re-energize your sponsorships. I'm really thrilled because I had the opportunity to sit in on a sponsorship mastery summit a few weeks ago, and one of their guest speakers is Patrick Myrna. Patrick is from the Indy 500 or the 500 Festival, which is really amazing. And so we're thrilled to have him here with us today. We're going to talk about sponsorship strategy. We're going to really get into the 500 Festival. They run over 50 events throughout the year. And when COVID hit, they had to really make some shifts quickly because the Indy 500 is in May. And I'm originally from Indiana, so I've been to like 27 Indy 500s and countless 500 festival parades and mini marathons and all kinds of stuff. So I'm a big fan of the Indy 500. I was so excited to hear Patrick speak on the Sponsorship Mastery Summit, and I reached out and just asked if he would be a guest for us for CalFest today. He's got some great insights, and I thought it'd be really informative to our fairs and festivals and events here with CalFest. So we're going to talk about some really cool, innovative activation ideas today. And with that, I'm going to kind of get started. I think one of the things that I do want to start with is if you did miss the last session, definitely email Michael and get a copy of it, because one of the things we talked about was how brands right now are making big changes in their sponsorship strategies. They're really looking at the world that we're in currently with this pandemic and social justice and so much going on. And over 70% of the brands are changing their messages out into the marketplace. And that also includes changing how they're doing their sponsorships. So us as fairs, festivals, and events, I think we all need to be really attentive to the changes that these brands are making. They are definitely leading, and they are making some big moves right now. So if you can make some quick adjustments and really understand your purpose. I talked about it in that first session. So definitely email Michael, get a copy of it, because it goes really deep into some of the changes that they're making and how you can really be a part of that to re-engage your sponsors. So
and
definitely
Vicky, real quick.
Yeah.
Also, make sure that we had some really great questions last time. Ask them in the Q&A, because if we run out of time, since it's a tight 30-minute session, we'll be able to email you back afterwards. And there's more than 40 people now live on the call, so well, more than 40. So you can upvote each other's questions in there if you have similar questions as well. Thanks again.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. So without further ado, let's kind of jump into this. We wanted to hear from you, Patrick. You're the star of the show today. So I'm really honored and thrilled to have you here. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of 500 Festival and everything you do. So if you could share a little bit about you and some background on 500 Festival, that'd be fantastic.
Great. Thanks, Vicky. Much appreciated. Thanks everyone for attending. I really love this opportunity. I spent over 15 years living in the Southwest in Santa Fe and Santa Barbara. So obviously the West Coast means a lot to me. Got the Dodger blue on today for congratulations to all the Dodger fans. So a little bit about me. I'm the Vice President for Strategic Partnerships with the 500 Festival. I came from a more traditional sports background, from college athletics, the NBA, and previously with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the IndyCar Series before joining the festival in 2017. Obviously, I oversee our sales department, which is myself and one other senior manager that's activation and service. And just a little bit of background of the festival. We've been around since 1957, and kind of we think of ourselves as kind of like some core mission points of celebrating the Indy 500 with events that are around that, but also providing positive impact, enriching lives for the state of Indiana. We touch about 500,000 people each year between all of our different programs and events. And Vicky alluded to some of that, and I'll kind of follow that in by the 4 categories that we think about that. So, and each of these always kind of tying back to the history of the Indy 500. So that's always kind of a core to mission. So We have our fitness programs. So we do a miler training series that leads up to the mini marathon, which is one of the largest half marathons in the world. We have a great partnership with One America that presents the event, and Delta Dental, that's the 5K for the event. We have our youth programs. So there's an education program that's part of the 4th grade curriculum for schools that we oversee and subsidize for history of the 500, STEM, healthy fitness. We also do mobile study trips in the schools, and a mobile study trips in April that's at the track. And then tying into the youth programs is youth fitness. We do a Kids Fit program, a rookie run that's downtown that's part of a Kids Day celebration, and a mini meals program that's in K through 12 schools. So a lot of that style, and as we like to say, we like Indiana for kids that think that they're into racing, basketball, and running. And running is just a way of things that we do here. So obviously one of our big pillar pieces is the celebration events around the Indy 500. A kickoff to May, an off the grid party that's a black tie race themed party the night before the race, a mayor's breakfast that we do at the track for Indiana mayors, that's on qualifying weekend. And then lastly, our leadership development program. So we have a college intern program that we do for seasonal interns. And then one of our biggest ones, we have 33 500 Festival Princesses that come from all universities representing Indiana. And they are out doing 200 plus community events during the month of May and April to help promote the 500 in a partnership with one of our board members that we have 33 as well. And for those of you who don't know, that 33 is significant because it's the number of cars that's in the Indy 500. So that's how that matches up with us. So that's kind of a background a bit, if you will, of the festival. Vicki, I can happily go into a little bit of.
You want to talk about the parade? Let's talk about that a little bit. We've got a couple
Sure.
of
Yep.
what it became this year. I know we have a lot of parades on the call, actually.
Yep. So obviously, that's probably one of our more marquee events. We're the 3rd largest parade behind Macy's and the Tournament of Roses parade. It's the IPL 500 Festival Parade. Over 300,000 people will line the streets downtown for that. It is downtown Indy's largest single day event. So we like to kind of take that piece of it. So there's floats, there's balloons, there's specialty units, celebrities. And probably the biggest thing that's part of that is that we have the drivers that are in it. So all the rows of 3 represent within the parade. So a great community celebration. It's the Saturday, the day before the Indy 500. We had an interesting pivot or redirect, whatever word you'd like to use. Having to do that this year. Obviously, we have the challenges of not being able to put on these large public events like this when you think about 300,000 people and what you would have to have there to have it safely out in the city and so forth. So we did try a couple partnerships with the Indy 500 itself. The race was postponed to August, so we tried to match our events with that same timeline, thinking that we could do the parade. We actually were in conversations with the track about having the parade there because that would have been a controlled environment. We felt like it could have been a safe opportunity. The track would have had all the resources there to be able to provide that. But then we just ran into, it just all came up so quickly, as probably with you all. It just was too late to really put that forward. And, IMS really needed to focus on the race. They wanted to have the race. They did not have any fans. So that was really a big piece that we wanted to take that burden off their plate. So what we did a little bit is we launched what we called a New Way to May campaign. So all our events, we just put into more of a virtual online piece or more of a individual family engagement. The parade was one of those where families could go in and go to a float project. They could submit a float that they would want to make. We had the likes of people decorating boats to making wagons to their cars, their vehicles, and then they could submit them online and even having small parades in their neighborhoods. I think with the timing we had, this was kind of our best option. We thought about some other things that we could have done a small scale parade or like a broadcast only parade piece, but for this made more sense to kind of do something that a good engaging. And I will say this overall, we had tremendous corporate partner support. So all of our partners, especially IPL being the presenting partner, we're all on board with this and just wanting to help support in any way they can, knowing that their dollars go into helping all our community programs. So that was definitely a big piece.
I
And
love
you can
that you
kind of,
got the communities involved in this. I think, the Indianapolis and surrounding areas, they're so passionate about the 500 Festival Parade. And I think being able to have little parades around the neighborhoods and kids decorating up their bikes and their little go-karts, I just think that's such a great way to engage. It had to be really a nice benefit for the sponsors instead of just not having it, to try and do something virtual to engage the community. So I just think that's a great thing. How are your sponsors receiving the news of doing this? How was that for them?
it was good. The thing that helped a little bit, everything was so quick as far as the timing, which I think maybe some of you all are having the not challenges a little bit, but some of that discussion moving 2021 were farther out. So there's a lot more to talk about. So they were all very supportive. A lot of our floats were already under contract and construction. So some of those we were able to keep the build going with the float vendor and just be able to store those and use those for 2021. So a lot of that was diverted when it came to our tickets for the parade. You can see that's our building there, and actually that's our car that we decorated to be in the parade to do laps in our parking lot.
I get it. I get it.
But
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that they were very supportive, and I will say with a lot of our significant partners, like the likes of One America and IPL, they are part of our board of directors, so they get mission, and that's definitely something in all this, that they understood the importance of supporting for mission.
I love that. And then normally, switching gears, I know we've talked to some parades. I think this was a really brilliant idea. We've also seen people do the reverse parade where there's the parade set up and then everybody drives by. And then, a lot of people are just trying to get creative with how to do these. Any final tips on the parade? And then we'll move on to the gala.
Yeah, I think some of the things that we are thinking about 2021, being a spring event and just coming off the winter and the flu season, we're just trying to be prepared and seeing the realistic point of that we still could be very virtual, incorporating some live events, but a lot of that having that piece to it. I do think within the parade, we are continuing to look at a lot of different avenues. I did mention the relationship with IMS, and I feel like that's a strong piece that we could easily look at as a controlled venue. As you see, sporting events and sporting stadiums are actually happening now in that capacity. So that could be a good possibility. The other thought process is we're looking at, as I mentioned before, I know Macy's parade is doing this as well, as doing as a broadcast only piece. So we might look at to have it in a confined area, closed off street downtowns, and maybe having some pieces that are part of the parade just in a smaller location with our broadcast partner.
Got it. Okay, cool. That's interesting. Let's talk about gala. I've been to this. It's so much fun.
So this is the night before the race. It's at the Indiana Rooftop Ballroom. It's downtown. A lot of local business dignitaries, people there to celebrate the race. Really fun. Stand-up cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, music, and that kind of thing. A red carpet that's out on the street beforehand, where we had that broadcast as well. So this is what it typically looks like with everybody black tie and having fun. And so what we did is, with our partner with Key Bank, we decided to use a summertime day, since we weren't going to have the event, to honor healthcare workers. So this is our staff there, and some of their team from Key Bank put together these VIP Indiana gift baskets. There were about 400 of them that we had that were filled with all these products. And so we wanted to visit 4 separate hospitals and drop off to thank them all as part of that. So Key Bank was completely behind this. They loved the community engagement, the publicity that was part of it, and so forth. And then next slide, you can see.
I think
This is typically what the red carpet looks like. You can see we have our 500 Festival pace cars that are there, and all that. And then the next slide is, so then what we did with the gift baskets is we had our board of directors. They each get a 500 Festival pace car that goes out in the community. That's with the Princess program, and in that engagement, that's typically over 6 weeks of that celebration. You can see why it's a good board to be on, having that fun piece. But so we had them be part of that drop off with the hospitals. And so that was a great engagement with our board, with the track, with our corporate partners.
That's great. Well, that's a great give back for the corporate partners too. And it's so relevant with the healthcare workers and just being able to move quickly and make that detour to do something that still, felt like it was very relevant in the community and still being active and getting them involved, but doing something that's really appropriate and really relevant. So let's move gears and switch over to the runs. Let's talk about the 5K.
Okay, I'll say one last thing about the off the grid party the night before. The KeyBank was so happy with it that we'll have this type of event, if you will, that will be part of the black tie moving forward. They made that very clear that we want to continue to do something like this each May. So that is something to keep in mind, is that the success of that, of now you're going to have something new to do as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I think this is definitely causing all of us to create new things. So, it's a way to be creative, and I love that.
So this is a little bit, you can see our start finish line. That's for the 5K and the mini marathon. I mean, 35,000 plus people typically doing that. It's a great event where it starts downtown and you do a run out to the track, and about the 6 mile mark, you actually do a lap on the track and then back downtown for a big celebration party. So you can see a little bit of the pieces there. We moved our race to a virtual piece. We had been doing that anyways for the last few years. That was tied into Indiana military personnel that were serving overseas and wanted to still do the mini marathon. So the good news is we had experience with that, and we had about 8,000 participants that participated in it virtually. So that was a good piece. A lot of that was a 2021 push to next year. So I'll do a little bit of a slip in, if you will, from, we had a lot of success with the mini, and we had great sponsor support from One America Delta Dental. They saw a lot of value with that we had for engagement with our resources from Facebook groups and so forth. So, but we were able to completely pivot and come up with a new event that we partnered with the 500, where we came up with an idea of, like, what if you could do your own Indy 500 virtually? So what if you could walk, run, swim, exercise class, bike, and do 500 miles from June into the end of the year? And we also have a 100-mile challenge that was part of that as well. So you could do this as an individual, you could do it as a family, you could do it as a corporate team. And so that really really kind of took off. And I think we were about 6,000 participants, and those were kind of the goals that we wanted with that. Pretty much, I think every state but 7 countries, lots of great engagement. Our impressions are over the 1 million mark through our Run Sign Up digital platform. So, and the great news too is we were even able to secure a presenting partnership with one of our partners, Cliff Bar. They have a large manufacturing plant here. So this was something on the local level, not tied into a corporate brand with Cliff Bar. So they actually came on board to be able to present for the Indy 500 mile challenge. And it's funny. So a lot of the old fashioned world, when it came to sponsorship, they were very excited about the idea that they were going to be on the 500 mile challenge medal with their brand marks on the shirt, on the hats. Because that's the big piece with this, is not only people want to do something like this as an Indy 500 challenge and that kind of global brand, but they want the items, they want the gear. That's what we're kind of discovering in this virtual challenge world. If you can have something that's kind of relative, that makes sense for it, and if you can have some quality items, that's definitely a big driver of it. And some of the other things that we had that's part of the program, we have like a lot of good resource pages that was a digital engagement where people could go on to log their miles. We had a blog session. We had a tracking sheet that was with that, a Strava running club that was also incorporated in there. So great engagement virtually for a lot of people to be able to talk about that as they were training or as they were doing their miles. And then with Cliff Bar, great corporate, great brand pieces, as you can see. So they were part of all the downloadable pieces of the bibs, the certificates, things, the badges, which is so popular, like from Peloton. And then we were even able to have a good activation piece for them. So like midway, we wanted to do a big registration push. So we came up with this Cliff Bar gift basket. And if you liked the post, if you tagged a friend with it and shared it, you were into a sweepstakes to be able to win this experience a bit.
Hey, we have a participant on the line, Jay. heard about it, signed up. He heard about it at the IFEA webinar and signed up for the 500-mile challenge, got his t-shirt, and for completing the 500-mile walk. So congratulations, Jay. He's saying would gladly sign up again next year. So that's exciting. Hey, he wasn't even a plant or anything. So that's all organic. Great job, Jay. Very exciting. That's so cool. Thanks for
Thank you.
being a part of it. It really did reach wide and far. That was a really great thing. And then there was a question from Lindsay. She says, you know, how do you get the community excited about a virtual event like a run? So, you know, just from her experience of trying virtual classes, it's hard to get them to get engaged. It doesn't seem to be too popular. So do you have any tips for people who are just trying to get the virtual events off the ground?
Yeah, there's a few ways. I think, well, first of all, I think that community has great engagement anyways, as far as like, you see that from people doing corporate challenges and through their workplaces and running clubs and so forth. So I think a lot of that, when it became more of that virtual opportunity, that's where we saw a lot of that. Like we had a Facebook group page and there was constant communication within our team reaching out and with the members that kind of created that excitement. And especially with people's courses, especially as people were trying to train in their routes, you know, when it came to the mini marathon of that 13.1 is like, where were you doing your 13.1? How were you incorporating that? How were you making it kind of tied into the Indy 500 in that piece? So that's, you know, that's another fortunate thing of having that brand of the Indy 500 to be able to tie in. So that was very helpful. And I'll say in my world, on the sponsorship and partner world, you know, we did a lot of engagement. So we have like a corporate member program that's like a Chamber of Commerce model. We did like discount codes that we sent to them. We sent them information on joining a team and making their own corporate teams. So we had great partner support that was pushing that out into their community and so forth. So that, I think that was a big piece as well.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, having some ambassadors, you know, not only your own team, but getting some core ambassadors in the community around it that are pretty influential and having them talk about it is really a big help. So as you're planning and putting that virtual event together, you can get your sponsors and your partners together, but also try and find some key people in the community that are influential, that have big followings, and are maybe passionate about this thing, whether it's a run or a class or whatever, and just have them be, you know, provide some ideas. And I think the more the merrier when it comes to trying to get people to engage. But I think if you have some ambassadors that are really out there singing your praises, where it's not always you saying, hey, come and do this, but it's you as well as this amplified audience of many other influencers and media and you know, your sponsors and just a whole core of people that are really talking about it, so that your community feels like it's cool and they might win something. So encouraging that social share, encouraging them to take a picture or a selfie of them doing whatever that activity is. And there could be prizes for that. People love free stuff. So anytime you can get your sponsors to provide, like Cliff Bar did with some packs or prize packs, those are always really helpful to get people engaged. But it really comes down to, like, I know, Pat, you didn't have a lot of time to plan this, but it sounds like your sponsors really stepped up, and it sounds like you had a great team and some good influencers that were out telling the story and getting the word out to get the community excited about it.
Yep, absolutely. And we do have an ambassador program. I should have mentioned that we have 33 ambassadors that we have yearly that are doing that push for us. So you're right, Vicki. Great points, Vicki. Those are all true.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about some of your educational programs. I want to also just keep an eye. If there are any questions, just type them in the chat or put them in the Q&A. I know Michael's keeping an eye on that. But let's talk about some of the educational programs you do. I know you've got like Kids Fit and a lot of these different educational programs. How have you been able to take those virtual?
Yeah, so those, the nice piece is we pivoted really quickly and
Oops, sorry, Pat froze.
You know, create a lot of
we lost
portals, if you will. So a teacher portal and platform. Oh, sorry, did you lose me? Okay.
Just for a second.
So
you were starting to say something about a teacher portal.
Yep. So we launched some virtual resources for teachers to be able to access a portal, to do some download of the materials, and we had a lot of video pieces that were part of that training, especially for the education program. So, and it was great because they were families and teachers, they were starving to have some type of other engagement besides what they were doing. So that was a big piece. And what we also did is the education program is typically just for fourth graders. That became every grade level. So anybody could go in to learn the history of the 500 and those pieces. So a lot of that just became platforms like that teachers can use now to download. And honestly, we're doing that right now too. So they're having that kind of engagement, with the PE instructors and teachers too.
Yeah.
And then I'll say on a partner standpoint.
Yeah, from a partner standpoint.
Same thing. They love having that integration. They love having that brand piece. Anything that they can, like for example, with Indiana University Health, they have the presenting partner for the education program. So they've tied in some resources that they have on a portal that's kind of health, nutrition, that kind of pieces that are good things when you think about the fitness of Indy 500 drivers and so forth. So, but we're still looking, right? We're still looking at more ways to engage.
Got it. Well, that's awesome. I think we're down to our last couple of minutes here, but
Yeah.
I want to just talk about the fun new event coming.
And then
So another-
I see that there were 2 Q&As, so we'll make sure to email you questions, answers back to those as well.
And I can stay on for a couple of minutes if anybody wants to hang around, and we'll see what Pat's schedule is, but we can hang in there and answer a few questions here for the next few minutes too. But just in our last couple of slides, tell us about this new event that was created.
Yep. I'm good too, Vicky, for a little bit if we need to go over. But so our team came up with another new interesting challenge, not tied to Indy 500, but tied into fitness of Indiana. We have 2 areas. We have Turkey Run State Park, and then we have Santa Claus, Indiana. And coincidence, the exact distance between those 2 locations is 150 miles. So we have the Hoosier Holiday Challenge presented by Camus Fine Jewelers, where you can do one leg of the version, like 150, or you can do it there and back. And you have between Thanksgiving and until the end of December to complete that. Same thing, you can do that as an individual, you can do it as a family, you can do it as a work team. So that's been an exciting new launch for us. It's not of the numbers that we typically have for the for the virtual mini or the Indy 500 challenge, but we've had a great start with it. We're expecting it to kick in even more as we get closer to Thanksgiving. But some good success with that. And once again, having a partner support was a really good piece.
Well, and as you mentioned, the partner support, you guys have some great sponsors. I think, what would be a couple of your tips for, engaging with sponsors, especially with these fairs, festivals, and events that haven't been able to happen, and now they're trying to go virtual? Are there some key tips? And I'm just going to kind of scroll through some of your partners here as we get to the end of this, but a couple tips for the group to engage and help keep their sponsors engaged.
Sure. And you probably were all doing this too. I think the biggest thing is, your communication, right? So that's we quickly had to get to do that as we were talking to sponsors from that March period leading up to May, letting them know where we were, working with them to make sure that we were still trying to match with their goals and what was important to them. And, if we had to redirect with some of their brand pieces, what could we do to help make that a better partnership? And so they were all very flexible with that, and they continue to work with us. I would say just, definitely having constant engagement. We really relied heavily on our marketing and digital team. So they were part of a lot of the conversations as we were circling back with partners to talk about, well, what if we look at a coloring contest with Star Bank to do for kickoff to May that's going to honor healthcare workers? And, with Key Bank, we that with Off the Grid, Chase, JP Morgan Chase, they're part of Kids Day. And so we looked at all these download opportunities between a scavenger hunt that kids could do, Indy 500 bingo and things like that. And a lot of that, we were looking at a lot of industry trends and trying to take that and apply that to us. But I think the main thing is, obviously making sure you have partners that are part of your mission and understand that. And then also just now making sure that you're able to meet their goals, because that probably has changed a bit. So just, managing that from what they want to see succeed, and then actually being the advocate and the ambassador with your internal group. So being the sponsorship representative, I want to make sure our team is working and thinking of that in mind of like what's important to our partners as we look to execute in a different way.
Absolutely. Well, gosh, this has been so great. I appreciate you taking time to share with us today. I think you've created some definitely innovative activation ideas for moving quickly and getting some things out there in our communities. I think you've also created solutions, instead of just canceling and saying, gosh, we're going to have to wait till next year. I think you've really created some solutions to still get people engaged and keep bringing value to your sponsors. And I love, just collaborating with your sponsors on strategy. I think you guys have just done that really, really well. And, it's something that I talk with a lot of our clients about too, is just, gosh, you got to communicate with them and collaborate, and, more minds at the table during this time is better. So I think you've just done a great job with that, Pat. And I'm so thrilled you had a moment to share with us today, for sure. Let's see if there are any questions. I'll put up some of our info. So if you have questions here, any other questions, Michael?
By the way, before we lose anyone else, anyone who attends all 3 sessions, sponsorship series sessions, will be given a special gift as a discount off of your CalFest new member join or renewal. So be sure to look out for the info for that coming from Ruth and CalFest. But anyone who is able to attend all 3 webinar sessions, you get a really nice discount off of your membership to help everyone out as we're working through COVID times. So there's 2 Q&A questions. One is from Doug Grove, what platform was used for the virtual challenge?
We used Run Sign Up. That was part of our registration, and also a way to log your activities. So right now for the Indy 500 mile challenge, you're able to go in if you want daily, weekly, whatever that might be, and put in the activities that you're doing, and then the miles and so forth, and the time. And it's actually keeping track of where you are as far as participants, where you rank, what your average time is, and then you're able to collect badges if you complete a different kind of event.
Great. And then James wanted to know what swag items are free versus which do you charge for?
Good question, James. So with your registration of $60 for the Indy 500 mile challenge, that included the medal, a collector's pin, t-shirt, and a hat. And then we actually do have as well that there's some other upgrade opportunities that you can do to purchase a 3/4 zip, things of that nature. So that's the nice thing, is that we were able to have, some great things that they're able to get for participating, but then also some additional items that they can purchase as well.
Great. And then there was a comment from Bruce in the channel that I'm actually going to take a stab at fielding first. So the question was and this is from a few people, a lot of people are skeptical about virtual events being financially viable in the world of experiential marketing. Are these more placeholders? My take on that would be twofold. One is, and this is also tying back to Vicky's first session, if it's cause-based, then the brands are very much willing to pay and feeling like they're getting a ton of ROI from being associated with causes. Nonprofits, military association, all are seeing a ton of really great success, and not regionally only, but nationally, especially when the military tie-ins are concerned. The second piece I would say is that some of the more sophisticated platforms, Event Hub being one of them, gives you some really great analytics on the attendees, and getting to the point where you can go to a specific sponsor and say, hey, here's the 300 people who visited your virtual booth. Here's the 100 people who clicked on this item. And that sponsor can then send extremely micro-targeted marketing to those people and get a ton of ROI from the virtual setting. So that's the way that the ROI is really paying off and making up. And it's also a heck of a lot cheaper. It's fractionally the cost of what it was to do a $50,000, $100,000 experiential setup versus hiring virtual staff and training them, and then having some custom design work done to build out a virtual experience.
And I'll take a stab at that too. I agree. I think it's hard for all of us to think that a virtual event would replace something that's so experiential. But, we're in this space right now where we just have to be creative and collaborative and try and find new ways forward so we can still engage, bring value to our sponsors, and, stay relevant in our communities. And so I think, as we move forward, we may see hybrid events where we're able to do some things socially distanced, but there might be people that would be concerned about going out, or a more at-risk audience. So I think we are going to see virtual hanging around for a little while. I do think that, virtual does not affect the younger generation. They love it. So if you're a fair festival or event that is trying to engage a younger audience, it's great to have some virtual components. And I do think they're going to be less of a placeholder and more of a kind of a hybrid as we move forward. I do think there's a lot of value. I'm working with some nonprofits right now on their gala, and they were not able to have a gala, but they're doing their gala virtually. Obviously that's a little different, but they're doing a whole event. Get dressed up in your house, have your glass of wine, let's have a party. And they're raising some great dollars. One organization that we worked with was, I think they had netted about $70,000, and they had maybe 300 people in a room for a gala. They're doing a virtual fundraiser online and raising $220,000 from 6,000 people attending, because there's no limit to the walls. And they had 10 different countries donating, so I think there are some ways to do it, that enable, it just depends on what it is. Like Michael talked about Event Hub and more of a virtual event and an expo. There are some benefits to that. If you're doing a gala or some kind of a way that you can compete online and raise money, we're seeing some very cool things there. Gosh, they raised $220,000 in a matter of 3 weeks. And instead of having 300 people in a room, they had 6,000 people, and now they can market to those people for the future forever. So we are seeing some good things. That's great value for sponsors. But Pat, I'd love your input on virtual. Is this a placeholder for until we can go back to normal? I'd love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you're all good points, Michael and Vicki. I agree with all that full-heartedly. I mean, I think we're going to see, as you said, a lot of the virtual world will still be here, even as we go back to live, full-on events. And I think you're right with all that, making sure that there's getting that brand representation and getting that connection piece of the bit. That's fortunate. I think I saw something within one of the chats, but we did tie that into that was benefit the 500 Festival Foundation. So we're a 501c4, but we do have a 501c3 foundation. So that has been a big piece that helps support a bit. And then, tying into those individual programs of youth, fitness, we do a military memorial service. So that's another good tie-in. And I do think it's going to be really important with partners, always thinking about return on investment, but as a lot of that new purpose of return on purpose, and we're going to eventually have some numbers and metrics that we're going to be able to provide for that now, and that'll be exciting. So I think that'll be a good tie-in when you kind of think of your events, and if it's live, if it's virtual, if it's a hybrid.
Absolutely, I love that. Well, I want to be attentive to time. Hi, Ray. It's great to see you. Ray runs a lot of parades, and he's fantastic. He's a good friend, and I'm happy to see that he's actually doing a virtual parade in 2020. So I'm excited to check it out. So we'll check out scparadeofchampions.org. So we'll go check that out.
I just reposted that because that was only to panelists.
Oh, was it? Okay, great. So yeah, thanks for reposting that, Michael. That's really cool. I'm happy to see some new things happening in that space. But hopefully this has been really worthwhile of your time. Thanks for spending a little time with us. Pat, I just want to say a great big thank you. I appreciate you taking time to share with the CalFest members and some new people today. And I really appreciate your great work and all the things you're doing in Indy to keep your sponsors and your community engaged. So great job, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thanks,
appreciate
everybody.
all of you as well.
Catch you on the third one next week.
All right. Thanks, Michael, for all your help hosting. Appreciate it. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for all you attending. Bye-bye.